What's up, y'all? This is Brave, and I'm here to review Love and Marriage Detroit. I'm going to be completely honest. I was telling myself, I don't need any more Love and Marriage anything. I attempted to watch Love and Marriage DC. To me, it wasn't really that good. Y'all already know that I watch Huntsville, and honestly, that show I'm giving a side eye to because so many people are getting on my nerves. But now we have Detroit. So over the weekend, I said, you know what? I don't have anything to do for, like an hour and a half. Let me give this show a shot. Baby, I have some opinions. Because how does Carlos keep finding these people who just want to tell their business? Like, I don't know where he finds them. I don't know what he puts on the job application. But these people are just volunteering to spill their business. First things first, y'all. Let's talk about these people that we meet. First couple up is Brandon and Christina. Y'all, we learned they got married 6 months after knowing each other. I'm like, okay, well, that was pretty quick. But they've been married for like some years now. Over a decade, I believe. Now, according to him, he develops artists. So he's working in the music industry. And she is actually like an influencer. She's a fashion consultant. And she's also a stylist. But she quickly mentioned to us that she does not style his clients. Baby, we'll circle back to that. The next couple that we meet is Russell and Kobe. She's an influencer as well. I said, oh, this is going to be interesting because you have two women on the show who are influencers. And I feel like it might get a little catty between them. But let me go ahead and talk about Kobe's husband. So his name is Russell. He runs a nonprofit. And he's also in the Army National Guard. And the last couple that we meet is Anthony and Latoya. So Latoya is actually a sports physical therapist. And she owns her own wine company called Opulence. Now, I can't lie. I'm just like another wine company. We already have chocolate in a bottle. And we have Inez. So now we have Opulence. I'm just waiting on DC to come up with a wine. But let's talk about her husband real quick. So he is he has a production studio. He did not say what he does with that studio. I'm not really sure. And then he also mentioned how he works for Live Nation and how they do like touring. Like, I'm familiar with Live Nation. Now, I actually believe that this couple have been married the longest because they like met in college or whatever, right? So we see them all get together. They're having a picnic for Father's Day. Oh, by the way, everybody got kids. The kids are super adorable. Now, at this picnic, somebody asked Brandon like, oh, we went to Vegas, had a good time, blah, blah, blah. Why you didn't show up? And he basically said that the reason why he couldn't go to the event was because his wife saw the roster and said no. So he basically let us know that he avoids going places because he doesn't want to hear her mouth asking a bunch of questions. I'm like, okay. Clearly they have a lot of issues in this marriage. So now we learn about Anthony. Anthony has something called the man movement class. And according to him, it's for men to have a voice. Sounds problematic to me. But at this table, Anthony's like, oh, yeah, you got to come to my men's movement trip. We're going to take a trip. It's just going to be a weekend or whatever. And Christina, she's like, so are you asking or are you telling? Baby, why was his response? I ain't asking for nothing. I was like, oh, okay. Now, what's interesting is that Latoya ain't said a word. One thing that I will say is that Latoya don't say nothing to her husband when he out here doing all this talking. Because he did a lot of talking in this scene, and he did a lot of talking later. Now, I feel like she probably checks him behind the scenes. But nonetheless, Christina is rephrasing that question to her husband and saying, so are you asking me or are you telling me that you going on this trip? Y'all, I don't even think we got an answer from him. Now, as for me, I don't think that I would have questioned my husband the way she did in front of the entire group. I don't think I will try to have that type of discussion in front of these people. Like, yeah, we friends and all, but I'm not going to be like, so are you asking me if you can go? And I'm kind of like, girl, you are showing your insecurities right now. And I get it. He's probably the cause of them. But it does make you seem like you need to give him the okay if he can go do anything. And you basically need to give him a permission slip. Like, girl, you already have 2 children with him. He don't need to be the third. He needs to be a grown man. And the fact that you cannot trust your husband enough for him to go on a trip and come back home and everything be fine, yeah, y'all have some serious marital problems. But let's go ahead and slide on over to this conversation that she later had with Kobe. They meet up or whatever, and the little girls are playing around. So they have this conversation about how Christina is turning 40. She looks amazing, but she's trying to figure her life out. And because she doesn't want to be stuck as just being a mom, she feels like she needs her husband's support to, number one, step up in raising their daughter. And also, or daughters, I should say. I think she has 2. But also, she needs to figure herself out. Now, here's the sad part about their situation is I feel like she has gotten wrapped up in this man and has allowed him to chase his dreams for years. Now, I have no idea what what Christina was doing prior to being an influencer. I don't know if she maybe worked a regular job. I don't know. But it seems like she probably, let him work in the studio and do all this stuff, chase his big dreams while she was putting her dreams on hold. So I'm pretty sure she found influencing as an outlet while she was, becoming a mom and doing all this stuff. I'm pretty sure she found that as an outlet. And now she's realizing, hey, there's so much other stuff that I could possibly do or I'm interested in, but I don't want to just be a mom because let's be honest, sometimes people make being a mom their entire being and their entire personality. She still wants to be Christina, but she just has to figure out who Christina is. And with the lack of support from her husband, that's going to be hard to do. I'm going to be honest. Because she's always going to have the kids with her. So y'all, and this is why I'm bringing this. Brandon, he in the studio with his artist by the name of Nyjah, right? She's singing her shoulda, coulda, wouldas. It wasn't that impressive, okay? His wife calls him. This man is being so short on the phone with her. And has the audacity to have attitude like, why are you calling? I'm in a zone. You messing up my flow. All this stuff. And she's just like, I'm just trying to figure out when you're going to come home. Now, this man just complained about how she's always asking 21 questions. You give her the reason to ask 21 questions because you have a nasty attitude towards your wife. Like, I'm sorry, I would have hung up on his dusty ass. He would have been sleeping in that studio. Especially considering, Negro, what money you even got coming in? Because it sounds like her brand deal checks, that's what's keeping y'all afloat. Because you developing artists, Negro, new artists are broke. So, who you developing? It's not like you working with, Big Sean or you working with, I'm trying to think of people from Detroit. Or if you working with fucking the Clark sisters. Like, you're literally working with nobodies. No offense. But y'all know what I'm saying. Like, you're working with undiscovered artists. And the fact that you're treating your wife like this, I'm sorry, but I'm giving it a major side eye. She don't trust you at all. So, now we have Anthony. Now, of course, he has all this, because I'm a man, because a man do what a man do, when a man got to do what a man do. That's how he talked to me. Everything's about being a man. And I'm like, I need for you to stop. So he's playing with his son or whatever. And he's like, because I just want to push him in sports and all this stuff. Now, I can't lie. My first thought was, I wonder if you also push his artistic side. I wonder if you push his creative side. I wonder if your son wanted to pick up cooking. Would you push that the same way that you're pushing the football down his throat? Because let's be honest, I feel like at this point, the older I get, I realize that a lot of men especially, they will put their kids in a sport that they used to do back in the day. But they do not push their children in what they may want to do. And unfortunately for the kids, they feel like, this is me being able to bond with my dad, so I'm going to stick it out. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. That's what happens a lot of times. But nonetheless, let me go ahead and talk about this conversation that he has with his wife. Because LaToya ends up coming through to this little sports arena thing that they're at, right? So we learned that they basically have this wine business together. He handles a lot of things in her business. And they talk about they have all these trips coming up. They have to go to Napa for the wine business. And he's like, oh, I got to go back to Atlanta. Her whole demeanor changed when he mentions Atlanta. Now, she feels like Atlanta needs to be a discussion. And I'm like, okay, so what went down in Atlanta? Y'all, come to find out. He went to Atlanta when COVID first hit so that way he could work with Disney and Marvel. Now, I don't know much about Atlanta, but I do know that in LA, production completely shut down when it came to COVID first hitting. I do know that there were shows that were able to work virtually. For example, there were a few talk shows that worked virtually. And I think the news stations, they were working virtually. So there was a little bit of work, but it wasn't like full on production. So I'm just wondering, what exactly was he doing for Disney and Marvel? Now, one thing that I will say is that I felt bad for his wife, because for her to have been working in the hospital, she has to come home, help the kids do homeschool, because keep in mind, they have 3 kids. Okay, they have 3 kids, and that's a lot. During the height of COVID, that is a whole lot. So basically, he had to come home. She gave him an ultimatum like, listen, Negro, if you don't come home, then, I'm leaving you. That's what it sounded like to me. I also kind of saw his side of things. I'm not going to lie, because a lot of times jobs like working for Disney and Marvel, they are kind of hard to come by. So this was an opportunity, but I just kind of feel like he should have had a conversation with his wife. Now, the sad part about working in entertainment, y'all, I'm going to be completely honest, because I know a few people who work in the industry. Sometimes when they call you up and ask you if you're available for a job, baby, they want that answer right then and there. Because if not, they're moving on to the next person. So sometimes you don't have the time to be like, oh, you know what, let me go ahead and talk to my wife and have this conversation, and I'll get back to you in 2-3 days. By 2-3 days, they already hired somebody else. Like, for real. That's just how entertainment goes. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and move on. So, let's talk about this last scene, because I thought we were going to get a scene with Russell and Kobe by themselves, but that's not what we got. I guess we're going to get them on episode 2. Okay, so Brandon and Christina, it is their anniversary. He plans a picnic in a lavender field with some singers and all of this. But guess who else is there? The rest of the cast. I said, sir, why is the rest of the cast here for your anniversary? It's kind of strange. So they're getting acquainted and all that stuff. And Christina, she ends up calling Anthony a male chauvinist. Now, he disagrees. He tries to explain himself. And then he goes on to tell Christina that she's holding Brandon back. And basically, Brandon's career took a back seat. And I'm like, a back seat to what? Because it doesn't seem like she's done anything that has stopped him from growing. It's not like her career came first and now we're waiting on Brandon to play catch up. Actually, it's the reverse. She's waiting on Brandon to finally hit big because she's probably been supporting his dreams this entire time. You know what I'm saying? So, Anthony is just going on and on, okay? The man won't shut up, and I really did want him to. So, then he brings up, the fact that LaToya basically gave him the ultimatum of if he did not leave Atlanta, then, she was going to leave him. So, this whole time, Anthony's trying to stick up for Brandon because he, for some reason, thinks that Brandon is a good guy. And he feels like, this is a good guy. If he needs to go work in the club, he should be able to go work in the club. And that is until she says, well, you don't know the history. I said, oh, okay, so he done cheated on her before. Knew that as a fact. And Kobe, she's trying to get in there and ask some questions. I said, you know what? I can't even be mad at you because we ain't got no scenes with you, really, girl. So get in there. So as she started to ask questions, here come her husband talking about, get your toes out their business. Kobe, get your toes out their business. So She mentions how her husband told her that Brandon is developing a new artist. Oh, Christina had no idea. Christina is pissed off. Christina feels like there should have been a conversation, and how dare you sign a new artist and all this stuff. And I'm just like, okay, but here's the problem. I understand, Christina. I understand it. I really do. You don't want your man possibly working with another artist, cheating again, all of that. But here's the thing. If this man works in the music industry, is he now only supposed to work with men? So that way your wife can be happy? Or what? Baby, Christina is so upset though. She gets up, walks off or whatever. I'm pretty sure she was crying. I'm just like, Brandon, you really dropped the ball here. Because according to him, he wanted to tell his wife in his own time. My thing is, you've already been working with this artist. This isn't like you first met them and it's like, hey, you know what? I just met this female artist. I know the history is a bit messy, but I'm not trying to mess with her. You know, I think she's very talented. And I think that we should, I could possibly sign her. That's all you had to say. But no, you've already had multiple sessions with this girl. And honestly, I don't think that you were ever going to try to find a time to tell your wife. Somebody else would have had to mention it. The same way that this happened right here in this scene. Y'all, that is pretty much where the episode left off. Let me know what y'all think about this show. Do y'all think Detroit will be better than DC? Or will it even be better than Huntsville? Let me know y'all thoughts. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And I'll talk to y'all in the next one. Bye, guys.